You are listening to Lifted You Weight Loss with Annie Jensen, episode number 10, What You're Not Seeing and Why It's Keeping You Stuck in Your Weight Loss. Hello, darling. I'm Annie, and I'm here to connect with you. I know we understand each other. We show up, we live hard, and you and I do all of it, carrying the same burden. But here is the most beautiful truth that I've learned over years of struggling with my weight. We do not have to live with this burden. So come with me because you are not alone in this. I'm ready to share everything. My story, my friendship, and every piece of value I've gathered along the way. My purpose is to lift you as you move forward on your own path to light, loving, and lasting weight loss and build something that finally works for you. Darling, there is a life waiting for you on the other side of this process. So let's ease this burden. Let's build what's already within you. Together we'll create a lighter, lifted you. The classroom error. I stop. My insides clench as I see them both notice me. They stand across from me about 8 feet away at the end of the aisle between the desks in Mr. Adams' science classroom. Peter, tall, dark, and muscular for a 7th grade boy. Nick, also dark, but shorter and skinny. They exchange glances, and I know exactly what's passing between them in that instant. Now, as an adult remembering this moment, I wish I could have protected myself. I was an intelligent 13-year-old, but not witty. I was smart, but not quick. And in that dreadful moment, my intellect offered me nothing. I couldn't problem solve. I was frozen. Even though I sense what's coming, I do nothing. I don't offer a clever remark. I don't pretend to not care. My sweet young brain doesn't even think to turn around and walk the other way. Instead, I stand there, frozen in my green sweatshirt, light denim jeans, and my innocence. My heart hangs open and exposed, while my mind sits more vulnerable than I could have imagined. With less than a moment to prepare, I try to brace myself for the words, for the pain. But it's useless. What happens next will brand my sense of identity for the next 26 years. The boys look at each other, then back at me, smirks on both their faces. Nick glances at Peter and points to my right thigh. "Look at that thing," he shouts, loud enough for others to hear. "You could feed a whole Indian tribe on that." They laugh loudly, indifferent to their cruelty, and too young to understand the weight of what they have just done, the consequences of verbal abuse. Now I turn and walk away, hurt, defeated, and embarrassed once again. That moment never left me. In fact, it embedded itself into my mind and my heart. But what I didn't understand at the time is that comment and all the other ones that I experienced literally meant nothing about me. But how do you explain that to an 11-year-old, to a 12-year-old, to a 14-year-old? I hated talking about it. It was embarrassing. It hurt. But sometimes it would come up and I would talk to my mom about it and she would tell me it wasn't true. But I would look at her and I would say, "But Mom, why would they say it if it wasn't true? They don't say it to her. They don't say it to her. They say it to me. So why would they say it if it weren't true?" "Boys are mean," she would reply. "Yes, I know, but you're my mom and you're going to say anything to help me feel better." My young mind did not have the ability to see the complexities of those situations. I was just experiencing them over and over again at school. I couldn't see that it was about all of those dumb boys who I'm sure had mothers who would freak out if they knew their boys were saying things like that. I would. My kids know that. We do not make fun of people and their bodies. So that weed garden was planted, and it sowed that thick fog that I've lived with for years and that I've told you about. Fast forward 26 years. I am 39 years old and I'm sitting in a counseling office. I'm happily married. I have 3 kids. I have built a life that I love. My weight has fluctuated over the years. I've had, like I've explained, moments when the storm had been calmer than others. My husband knew all about this part of my life, and he had been wonderful. But I know I am still carrying this moment. It still hurts. It's still hard to talk about. And it is not just emotional. It is physical. But I had found a wonderful mental health care provider who was going to extract the pain by changing the meaning of that experience in my brain. And she did. With methods and concepts that I'm going to talk about with you here, she changed the meaning of that experience and all the other insults I had experienced in my youth to what they really were. Simply a series of unfortunate events that meant nothing about me. I've shared that I wasn't the big girl I thought I was, but even if I had been, it doesn't matter. Because remember, our bodies, our experiences, our thoughts are not us. We have learned through the concept of clarity that we are the perfect, unchanging existence that lives inside our bodies. We are the essence of who we are. And that's why I've tried to explain that concept to you so clearly. So that day, my counselor located the source of stuckness in my brain, neutralized the meaning in my mental processing, and she removed the obstruction that had been sitting there for years, undisturbed, unprocessed, festering in my doer's way. We'll learn that the lower brain doesn't understand time. So something that happened when you were 13 or 20 or whenever can still feel like it's happening right now. It can feel like a threat. So your brain can keep replaying it and responding to it as if it is happening in the moment. So that verbal abuse I experienced in my youth, and it was verbal abuse, wasn't just a series of painful memories. It was a giant obstruction in my processing. I'm going to share with you the most perfect life metaphor, okay? I love it. I want you to imagine your life as this free-flowing stream of clear water. Okay, your life is that stream. Your doer is the water. Remember all we've said about her? She wants to move you forward, and she does. She passes through obstacles, she adapts, she flows, she's smart, and she figures it out. But when something falls into the middle of the stream, she has to move around it. And in my case, these insults were like a giant rock dropped right in the middle of my free-flowing stream. And this was in my youth. So it's at the very beginning of this free-flowing stream. So I lived my whole life for a very long time flowing around that rock. So this is what I need you to see today. Your life as that clear flowing stream of water. And your struggles, particularly around weight loss, because that's our focus here, as pebbles, rocks, branches, are just obstructions in your doer's way. They're neutral. They're rocks and branches. They mean nothing about you or your ability to lose weight and live a different life. If a rock is in your way, you just move it because it's just a rock. That's why understanding that you are not your body, your experiences, your thoughts is so essential. When we can change the meaning of all the experiences, extract the heavy, the shame, and whatever else comes with them, and stop letting them define us and control our behavior, we see them as just an obstruction. Then we have pointed our doer in the right way, and we can move it. So when I say what you're not seeing is keeping you stuck, this is what I mean. There are obstructions in your doer's way that you are not aware of. Or maybe you are aware of them, but you don't know how to fix them. Or you won't acknowledge that you need to fix them. Or you are aware of them, want to fix them, but don't want to go through the process of fixing them. Whatever that looks like, we're going to locate the obstructions, neutralize them, and remove them. And this is what I mean when I say that weight loss doesn't have to be so hard. Because when you come at things from the root and change what they have been meaning in your life for so long, you create a path for your doer to move and the change to roll out naturally like it wants to. All right, the next step is that all of this begs the following natural question. How do we find where we're stuck? How do we see what we're not seeing? Well, here is a simple 3-step process to help you do it. Okay, this is how you're going to look for and find the obstructions in your stream. First, you're going to externalize. Okay, you're going to get it out. You're going to talk it out. You're going to write it out. You're going to take what's on the inside and get it on the outside so that you can look through it. When you're doing that, you've put yourself in a position to recognize it. Once you've recognized the source of stuckness, you're going to normalize it or neutralize it. Okay, we're going to extract all the meaning from it so you can see it as simply an obstruction sitting in your doer's way, simply a bug sitting in your brain, simply an error sitting in your weight identity. So the 3-step process to locate what you're not seeing, what's keeping you stuck in your weight loss, is to number 1, externalize, number 2, recognize, and number 3, normalize. Now, where exactly do we start looking for it? Sometimes it's more obvious. Do you have weight-related health conditions? Sometimes our bodies will finally just start yelling at us, and then it's up to us to decide whether we want to listen. Are you always tired? Or maybe you have chronic symptoms that you're ignoring. Those are some physical signs of obstruction. Here's another way you can approach looking for signs of stuckness. Let's think about that basic cognitive behavioral therapy triangle that some of us learned in like Psychology 101 classes, okay? Each point of the triangle says either thoughts, feelings, or behaviors, and it's continuous where they all flow into and affect one another. So when you're looking for stuckness, you can look at your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. For example, let's look at a few feelings to see if we can find any signs of obstruction. What repeated frustrations are you experiencing in your life? And then you can get more specific. What exactly is causing those frustrations? Maybe you feel like you keep having to jump the same hurdles in life over and over again. You could simply look for your weaknesses. I know that I've had people tell me they are nervous to come and talk to me about something because they don't know how I'm going to respond. I tend to get defensive. So obviously I've got some insecurities there, some stuckness somewhere that I need to work through so that I don't feel threatened or defensive when somebody wants to talk to me about something. Maybe your thoughts spin at night while you're in bed and you get anxious or have trouble sleeping. Keep a notepad on your nightstand or have an ongoing note open in your phone. I've even done voice memos to myself. It's easy because you just talk it out and then you can listen back to it and you can find things that you really didn't know that were in your brain. Let's talk about behaviors for a second. Maybe you notice that your behaviors are different on the weekend than they are during the week. Spending some time following those behaviors would likely lead you to a bug or two in your brain. While you're externalizing it all, you will start to recognize the errors for what they are, where they are, and how they're affecting you. My sister gave me this great tool that she uses that you could absolutely use on yourself, either just thinking it or writing it out. You can make like a little movie in your mind about your life. Okay, this is happening and then this is happening. And then finally there's a climax and then you recognize that's where I'm stuck. Like I love to book vacations and I'm excited to go and I plan with my friends and my family and it's getting closer. And then when it's time to come and pack, I start dreading it and I don't feel the excitement that I want to feel. That's where I'm stuck. Why? Or I do well with eating and I go for a walk during the day and I'm feeling great about it. And then at night, I give in to that urge and I just eat way too much food unintentionally and I feel awful about it the next day. That's where you're stuck. Why? That's when recognizing those specific behaviors can get you closer into the thoughts and feelings that go with them. And if you can do that, then you're in a position to catch it before it happens. We'll get deeper and more specific with all of this, but you can do this on a high level in your life. You can look back and you can see patterns, you can see loops, and you can do a little something to shift that rock, to move those pebbles, to remove a little resistance for your doer. All right, once we have externalized and we've recognized some sources of stuckness, some obstructions in our doer's way, then we need to neutralize them so they're not so heavy and hard to work around. We're going to normalize it for ourselves. And this particular process of neutralizing and normalizing an area of stuckness in your life can be traced back to acceptance and commitment therapy, where the basic idea and approach is to give power back to the individual. This is when an individual takes a more observational and objective approach when looking at themselves and their behavior. We're taking out all the yucky that can be sitting there in our minds. We're changing the meaning. We're recognizing our stuckness as a simple, neutral obstruction in our doer's way that we just need to take care of. Now, this can look like a lot of different things. Okay, I've mentioned shame a lot, and that is something that I had to recognize and remove from my self-talk, from my memories, from a lot to do with my weight loss. But normalizing our obstructions can also look like not letting yourself be a victim in your own situation or justification of a behavior that is not helpful or even harmful. Here are a few examples of obstructive thoughts that could need to be neutralized in your life. I've always been like this, or I have never done it any differently, or I've never done that before. I'm not that person. I can't imagine not eating my whole piece of chocolate cake. It is physically uncomfortable for me to think of throwing food in the garbage. I've always been the big girl. I'm comfortable being the big girl. This is who I am, and if people can't accept me for who I am, then I don't need those people in my life. Okay, there's some truth in there, but can you also see the victim mentality starting to creep in there? It's real easy to stay stuck when you make yourself the victim in a situation. So neutralizing, normalizing that obstruction would look like taking some personal responsibility and making efforts to change. So based on what you take the time to uncover in yourself, this process of normalizing can be easy, or it might be deeper and could take some time to get to the base of it. Either way, the goal is to look at our behavior, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, look at our life, see the stuckness, neutralize it, normalize it, take the yucky out of it, and make a plan to fix it. And that brings us right back to that toolkit, the 4 essential skill sets of weight loss that we talked about last week. Thinking clearly, seeing clearly, responding intentionally, and moving forward. So as we are looking for, pinpointing, and normalizing these as obstructions in our processing, we're doing just that. We're learning to think clearly about ourselves, see clearly about what we need to do and how we need to do it. Then we've put ourselves in a position to move intentionally forward on our concrete path. Can you see how it's all coming together? We started that toolkit last week with the 4 essentials of weight loss. Every skill, every tool that you need to lose weight is going to be in one of those 4 essentials. Then you're going to use those tools to normalize the obstructions that you find and move through them. Remove them from your weight loss path. Remove them from your stream so that your doer can flow freely. Okay, let's take a simple example that I'm sure almost all of us can relate with, okay? Let's take the example of scrolling on your phone in bed before you get up in the morning. I'm confident that we can agree that a better behavior that would make you feel more productive, lighter, happier in general would be to not aimlessly scroll on your phone before you get out of bed in the morning, or at least not every day, or not before you have to get up and go to work, so you make your time to get ready more stressful. Okay, what's wrong with this behavior in general, and why might it keep somebody stuck? It's not intentional. It's often not meaningful, and you're just stuck there. You're not moving, not making progress, kind of just stuck in your behavior. That's a fairly easy general bug to find that somebody would likely have, myself included. So it would be really easy to put a lot of meaning into this behavior and just say, I'm lazy. I can't not do it. I'm addicted to my phone. It's sitting right there. Or not even recognize the behavior as a problem in the beginning. Either way, by not recognizing or taking responsibility for the behavior, or just making it mean, I'm lazy, I can't do it, Those approaches are just adding a bunch of yucky meaning to the behavior of you lying in bed scrolling on your phone, when really it's just a bug in your processing. It's not who you are. It's just a choice you're making because it's comfortable and it's kind of getting in your way. So you can totally fix it. So how do we externalize what's going on so that we recognize it as a bug? Well, it might be making your morning more stressful if you're spending time in your bed that you could or should be using getting ready in the morning. Or how do you feel on days that you don't do that, where you just get up, maybe you make your bed, go to the bathroom, do all your routine, and you don't look at your phone? It feels different. Maybe you recognize those feelings of avoidance or comfort or buffering in the morning, and you realize that they are not the best for you to have first thing Monday morning. So all of this thought process is externalizing the behavior and the consequences of scrolling on your phone aimlessly in the mornings before you get out of bed. So you have just put yourself in the position to notice that this behavior might be comfortable for a few minutes, but it's really actually getting in your way. It might be affecting your day far more than you think it is. Okay, now it's time to remove the drama so you can just label it as an obstruction in your daily life and not mean so much about who you are as a person. All right, let's normalize and neutralize this behavior. Of course it's easy. It's comfortable. It's designed to do that. It is designed to suck you in. The device is doing its job. Instagram is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Congratulations, you are normal. And also congratulations, because you are now thinking clearly and catching that bug in your brain. Now, how does this help you see clearly moving forward? You're seeing the pattern in your life. You're seeing the impact, at least some, of what it's having on your life. And now you can see the opportunity you have to change it. So you're no longer just stuck in this behavior. You have recognized it as an obstruction. You've risen above it. You've given yourself some clarity. I am not this problem. This is not a big deal. I can fix it. So now your doer is pointed in the right direction to move. Once you can see it, you can change it. And that brings us to next week. This week, we talked about finding those bugs, seeing them simply as obstructions in your doer's way, and understanding that you can move it and move forward. Today, we focused on thinking clearly and seeing clearly. We want to see what we can't see that's keeping us stuck on our path or keeping your water from flowing freely down its stream. Next week, we're going to move into the next 2 essential skill sets of weight loss. Next week, we're going to talk about responding intentionally and moving forward. So once we have recognized the source of obstruction, we've neutralized it as something that we can take care of, we have the tools, we have what we need, then we're going to move on exactly how to take that step of change and do it intentionally so that we can move forward on our path. Time for some final thoughts. That counselor truly changed my life that day. In essence, she reached into my lower brain, grabbed that rock that had been sitting in my mental processes for years, that experience where that boy told me that my thigh was big enough to feed an Indian tribe. She pulled that out of my brain. She changed the meaning of the whole thing. That moment in my 13-year-old 7th grade life was the most painful thing that I could remember growing up. There is no way I could have shared that on a podcast where anyone could hear about it. That is the power of neutralizing the obstructions that you have, the insecurities that you have, the experiences that you've had, the failures that you feel you've had, and making them not mean what you think they mean. Now, I am not this counselor. I can't do it the way she did it for you, but I can guide you through the learning process that I have gone through about this. And I plan to do just that so that you can think of the rocks and pebbles that are in your processing, in your weight identity that make losing weight harder for you. And you can come to understand, believe, and feel that they are literally nothing. They mean nothing about you, your ability to lose weight, to live at a different weight. Remember that they're just sitting there in the non-existent past. Are there valuable lessons to be learned? Absolutely, and we will take those with us. Look at what I was able to share with you today by going through that experience at age 13. Of course, there's value there, and we don't ever want to forget it. But do I want to remember and live through the shattering moment of hearing those words? No, and there's no reason to. There's everything to be gained for being able to just let it go. Pluck the rock. Flick it out of your stream. All of your late night binges, gone. Flick them out. Doesn't matter. The awkward moments of standing in photos where you're so uncomfortable, gone. Doesn't matter. Neutral. They mean nothing. It's hard because our brain is used to going into the past for evidence and for all the things. We're going to teach it to be better. Now, did removing that bug of that painful experience from my brain remove all of my weight loss challenges? No. I still had habits and insecurities. There were still other bugs, rocks, pebbles, branches, things I needed to clear up, but that was a huge one, and it helped so much. So those obstructions are still there. Other ones are still there, but that big one was gone. So that's what we have to do is we have to look through our lives, find areas where we're stuck, believe and teach ourselves that we can take care of them, get the tools to do it, get the support to do it, get the love to do it, make sure we're working on being clear and having that clarity, and then take little steps of change forward. And that's what we're going to talk about next week, how to take that step of change. So next week, like I said, we're going to move from thinking clearly and seeing clearly to responding intentionally and moving forward. Look for a bug this week. I'm going to work on scrolling on my phone in the morning. I'm not kidding. I still do that. It's a normal addictive behavior that lots of people struggle with. It does not mean that I can't fix it. So I'm going to do that. I will report on it next week. In the meantime, look for a simple bug that you can work on neutralizing and fixing. That process of neutralizing it, of normalizing it, looks different. For whatever reason you feel like you may not be able to fix something that's keeping you stuck, that's where you need to focus. That's where you need to normalize it. One thing you could do this week is when you're full, not eat every bite on your plate. Or even just not feeling full, but feeling satisfied. Just be done with less than you usually do. Right there, that's thinking clearly, seeing clearly, moving forward intentionally. Right there, that's the whole process in one little moment. Have a lovely week, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.